Hello, thank you for tuning in to our AWANI review with me, Cynthia. Today, I'll be talking to the CEO of DE-CIX International, Ivo Ivanov. DE-CIX is the largest data central neutral carrier in the world and the largest internet exchange operator in Asia. Ivo, great to have you here and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Cynthia, and it's such a great pleasure talking to you and having this exciting topic, probably not a very common topic for your audience, but we'll try to explain and make it more digestible for everybody who will enjoy this discussion, hopefully.
That's great. So let's start with that. Tell us, what is a neutral IX or internet exchange provider like DE-CIX, and why is it becoming more important right now?
Thank you so much. And then internet exchange, just to be explained, I love to use the analogy to airports. As airport operators, they run the airport and enable different airlines to land their aircrafts and exchange passengers and luggage, right? So far, so clear. The same an internet exchange does from the internet. An internet exchange connects different thousands of internet networks, as we do, enable these networks to interconnect directly. And instead of exchanging luggage, of course, and passengers, they exchange data absolutely directly. And the internet exchange, therefore, has an enormous importance for quality, security, performance on the internet today, because the connected networks, they literally can exchange the data packages directly. You want to enjoy the service at the best performance possible. The direct connection on an internet exchange enables this in the most efficient way. The content is delivered through the content network, and the access network, the network which provides your access, internet access at home or in the office, can get it directly from the content network. Therefore, it's so efficient and so highly performable.
Just how much quicker is the speed using an internet exchange compared to the more traditional way?
This is really hard to answer, but talking about speed, fantastic question. Let me touch on this. In the internet telecommunications industry, speed is essential, the speed of light, of course, and we call it latency, milliseconds management. So having said this, let me talk about latency a bit in milliseconds, but to give your great audience in front of the screens a perspective, talking about milliseconds, what do you believe, Cynthia, is the millisecond time of an eye blink?
Less, I don't know.
I have the answer. I have the answer, 100 milliseconds, a simple eye blink. Now, a high definition online gaming, real time, between communities, between users living in different cities, if they want to play really enjoyable performance and high quality definition of graphic, etc., they need 35 milliseconds. So about the third of an eye blink. So it has to be really fast. If we talk about real-time robotics in manufacturing and digital control and automation of this, or autonomous driving on the street, with the connected cars, we are talking about less than 5 milliseconds. We are talking about enormous speed. And now you understand that the direct interconnection, which reduces the speed because it's the best and the shortest path possible between two networks, is the best way to achieve the lowest latency possible. Your question cannot be answered by just giving simple numbers comparing different systems. I must say the internet exchange or the interconnection through an internet exchange delivers definitely the fastest.
So Malaysia is in the midst of rolling out 5G connectivity, which I'm sure you know. DE-CIX has two operations in Malaysia, 2 locations, Kuala Lumpur and Johor Bahru. What will be the immediate best use cases for industries and users? And if you can also speak to us about the role of internet exchanges to facilitate a more reliable and safe internet connection.
Oh yes, this is very important. I truly believe first that Malaysia deserves better infrastructure, digital infrastructure, as every single ambitious and progressive economy does today. And we are aware of the ambitious approach of digital Malaysia, connected Malaysia, to achieve this within the next 10 years latest. And our contribution with the already existing platforms we have in the greater area of Kuala Lumpur, including Surabaya, but also in the south, the very south, in Johor Bahru, to localize interconnection in Malaysia, where application networks, content networks, they can connect with the access networks of the users, not in other countries like Singapore or beyond, like Tokyo, even far away, like Frankfurt, Paris, London, on the west coast of the United States. This should be done in Malaysia. Therefore, we will introduce over the next months and years more and more platforms across Malaysia where we will localize this type of interconnection. Digitalization is everywhere, as we experience daily. So digital infrastructure becomes so important for the performance of all services by all means. We don't have today a simple business organization which doesn't use digital services. I have, as we all do, a mask next to me, right? Even the company producing this entirely offline product, which is a mask today, does have digital processes behind us. Delivery chain management processes, accounting processes which run digitally today. They use cloud. So bringing interconnection and digital infrastructure, the internet exchange is part of this, along with data centers, along with more fiber, as close as possible where the users are. 5G is a technology which will allow us to use great performance on applications everywhere. And allow me, Cynthia, to add one more perspective if we talk about local high-speed access. I truly believe that there is one more technology which needs to be mentioned here. This is the new hope from space, how I call it. These are the low Earth orbit satellites. They fly very low. They have an amazing speed of 27,000 kilometers, but they deliver a latency down to Earth of less than 35 milliseconds. We covered this at the beginning. The magic threshold, 35 milliseconds. So I truly believe combining 5G cell towers in regions where they can be served with backbone from space will also add additional perspective and will enable rural areas, areas where the people do not have proper access because fiber on the ground, in the ground is not there to get this access to high-speed internet from the space.
So you're right, because when you talk about internet infrastructure, it's usually concentrated in the high traffic urban areas. So if you can talk to us a bit more technicality maybe, does being close to an internet exchange point help lower the time for data retrieval and also cost? And what are you guys doing then to help broaden the network for areas which are further out, rural areas and remote areas?
An internet exchange definitely improves dramatically the three factors: security, compliance, and performance. Performance is key, as close as possible to the users. What we do as DE-CIX, we have created a lot of concepts for specific interconnection services. The basic service is called peering. Peering means direct layer 2 interconnection between networks who do produce, deliver content, and networks who do allow the users to get access to the internet. The internet access providers, we all know from our homes and from our offices. But they are more advanced services. I mentioned digitalization is everywhere. So DE-CIX and DE-CIX Malaysia, we have already started introducing specific enterprise interconnection services where healthcare industry, automotive industry, finance industry, retail industry can use specific services to improve their performance, security, and compliance. And one example, as you ask, is the latest hit, I must say, we have offered and we have introduced is the so-called closed user group. A closed user group is a private virtual interconnection ecosystem where, for instance, an automotive company, a car manufacturer, can, in Malaysia, create per region a very optimized private environment where all of the data operators who deliver data into the car and use data out of the car can interconnect, direct, secure, under the compliance the regulations require. And one more thing, we also took care of enterprises, for instance, who use applications based on Microsoft 365. Unique product has been introduced in Malaysia, the so-called Microsoft Azure Peering Service. DE-CIX has created together with Microsoft, and it's nothing else than the best connectivity possible to Office 365 for calls like this on Teams, for CRM, for ERP, Microsoft Dynamics ecosystem, and we know how essential this type of products are to enterprises. But it's not about Microsoft only. It's about working with all the other cloud service providers like AWS, Google, IBM, or just to mention a couple of names. We work with all of them. We want all of them having a presence in Malaysia, and we'll do everything possible to localize this type of infrastructure as much as possible. And to give you a practical example, why this is important, let's take the connected car. And we all got excited about this. Having a nice car with great applications in the car. Not while you're driving, will not watch TV, it's not allowed, of course, but all the different other applications are so exciting. I call the car already today, the connected car, the fifth screen. So now imagine if the performance of digital applications on the car is not great, what do we think, what we would think as a customer? Does the car manufacturer do not perform, or does the application provider do not perform? If you cannot make a proper video call in the backseat of a car, or cannot enjoy music on Spotify, probably, just to mention names here as examples again, we all will feel like, oh, the car manufacturer didn't do a good job here. And this is the problem automotive companies have. They want to get this control of performance, otherwise their reputation is under damage.
I want to talk a bit about infrastructure and just your thoughts about what's happening in Malaysia. I'm not sure if you know that there was quite a big issue in Malaysia last year, whereby some tech giants announced plans for like a 12,000 kilometer undersea cable that will connect Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, but not Malaysia, due to a reversal of the cabotage policy, which would allow speedier repair of undersea internet cables, some say. Can I get your thoughts on that? Just how much Malaysia will potentially stand to lose from missing out cable landings such as that? And does it affect your business? Because you're talking about increasing your presence in Southeast Asia, and Malaysia being a key area.
Limiting subsea cable capacity, limiting opportunities to access subsea cables through missing sea cable landing stations is, of course, not a good factor at all, because terrestrial or long-haul subsea cable connectivity is important to interconnect the country to the rest of the world. But what I mentioned earlier, localizing the content, localizing the content, localizing the applications in Malaysia will make Malaysia more independent from such breaches or from such absence of subsea cable, because in this case, the applications will be on site. They don't need to be delivered over a cable. They will be in the data centers in the country. And this should be the main vision, to localize as much as possible application content and cloud capacity in Malaysia, because this is the best effort possible. My thoughts on this is that especially in generally and Southeast Asia, we do have a huge concentration today of infrastructure, content and cloud in Singapore for historical reasons. But this will not do the trick in the future. We need to see more localization in the countries like Malaysia, to mention Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand as well.
We have that 5G rolling out, still at very early stages. But what else does a country like Malaysia need to ramp up is, in your words, localization of infrastructure and internet capabilities?
Data centers everywhere, fiber everywhere, 5G, LEO, internet exchanges. These are the key elements of a digital infrastructure framework, which will create a healthy ecosystem where international and regional operators of cloud, the hyperscalers and other cloud service providers, application platform providers, we all know the variety of different great services, gaming, entertainment, business applications, everything will be attracted to be in the country.
And your assessment, how is Malaysia doing?
We have been now operational for almost 2.5 years. And I believe I see progress. By far, the job is not done. And this is a constant development. But I believe there are a couple of initiatives which are very promising to support regulatory-wise, business-wise, the build of as much as possible data centers in different regions. KL, Surabaya are highly congested and the same with people in business, and they are options. But there are so many other regions in Malaysia which are underserved. And I believe there is a progress I see. The speed is low. This has to be done to accelerate investments, to make proper framework that foreign and national, local, regional investors will be more attracted to invest in the country, to build data centers, to lay down fiber, to build 5G networks, and the cloud service operators, the application service operators to be invited by easy to join the country, easy to invest in the country, easy to be in the country framework to localize their services. We at our end, as DE-CIX Malaysia, are highly motivated. And as you can see, we didn't start with KL and Surabaya first. The first deployment was in the south, in Johor Bahru, and then Surabaya and KL came on the top. And now, of course, we're doing more, trying to cover in the next months and years as much as possible regions like, of course, East Malaysia, North Malaysia, and so far and so on.
Yeah, what other trends are you noticing?
Trends in this on this topic, I would say software automation to democratize the usage of infrastructure. This is how we call it, to make it as easy as possible for every single enterprise, disregarding the size, to be able to order data center service presence, to automate connectivity, to use different services in the future and not just the old-fashioned incumbent like of telco services. This is needed, fully automated. Companies should be able within a minute or two to order cloud connectivity services, to check in which data centers their presences are doing good or not. Everything by click. It should be as seamless as possible. And this will motivate literally everybody who offers services and uses digital infrastructure to use more, because it will be simple and comfortable. And this is what we're working on, investing heavily in software, automation, virtualization, to make sure that there is no organization on the planet which wants to improve its performance, disregarding if this is the own company mail server, this is the performance on the cloud resources they use, or whatever it is, that this can be done by a couple of clicks without expert knowledge.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Ivo, I would like to get your thoughts about cybersecurity as well and disaster recovery, which are key, especially for businesses. How does DE-CIX protect consumer data and ensure that, when things go down, for instance, if I can pick an example, was the earthquake in Tonga and the tsunami, and how they have been cut off from the world for almost a week now, 5 days. How does internet exchange help that in any way, like to disaster recovery especially?
This is a great question, and thanks for this example. Internet exchange helps a lot, because an internet exchange increases the redundancy and the resilience. The more we do have interconnection locally, the the less dependency we do have on global and long haul paths, like subsea cable, etc. This is obvious. Is there is a breach on the subsea cable, but the content, the applications are in the country, there will not be a big effect, right? And internet exchange increases the security because the interconnection on the internet exchange is done, as I mentioned earlier, directly. There are no intermediates. You do not have a lot of hops between the packet of the content and the network of the user where the internet access is delivered. So without any man in the middle, of course it's more secure. It's of course DDoS attacks, IP hijacking, and other bad things. They are extremely limited because it's a direct relationship. It's a very secure ecosystem, and we do a lot for this. We are highly certified by different institutes. The scripts and the platform are extremely efficient, and by nature, the interconnection on the internet exchange, because it's so direct and because you know with whom you connect, the networks are well known. This kind of attacks are very limited. And just last but not least, if it comes to data protection, an internet exchange on the layer of traffic exchange is not involved, of course, in the traffic itself. So on the internet exchange, there is no deep dive into the traffic. We just manage the platform for interconnection. So data privacy is extremely granted.
From what you're saying, reducing the dependency on subsea cables and other big tech giants, wouldn't it make more sense for countries then to set up their own internet exchanges? Just thinking out loud here, is that something that countries should be doing, or they're actively doing?
There is a need of local internet exchanges, yes, but we have a lot of examples around the globe where a governmentally operated an internet exchange never has been a success. The industry in general appreciates community approaches. DE-CIX is an extremely good example for this. We're entirely data center and carrier neutral. So we are not driven by one investment. We are not driven by the control on one or two carriers or one or two data centers. This neutrality is key. Operating an exchange in a highly professional and highly state-of-art manner is the condition for success, and neutrality distribution. So as you can see, the example of DE-CIX in Kuala Lumpur, Sabajaya, we are present in different data centers. So we do not depend on one or two. In Johor Bahru, the same. We are extremely neutral, so extremely well accepted by the entire community, and the customers, the connected networks of the internet exchange, they can make their decision based on their requirements in which data center can they and will they deploy. In all of these data centers, they have access to the platform. This is the beauty of a data center neutral and highly distributed, integrated platform. So once being in one of the data centers, you are just a cable away of the platform.
All right, so now a question for you then when talking about expansion. Obviously, the more exchanges, the wider the network, the better the connectivity. So DE-CIX now has 4 locations in Southeast Asia, I believe KL, JB, Singapore, Brunei. You mentioned plans to build more in this region, also in Malaysia. Talk to us about those plans, and will we be seeing you here in KL anytime soon?
Absolutely, and I'm excited. We have a lot of plans. I will kindly not mention specific names today, but you can certainly imagine that the countries I mentioned, other countries like Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, of course, deserve this type of infrastructure to be deployed there as well. There are already initiatives there are operations. We believe that complementary solutions, more alternatives are always good for the quality on the market. Competition creates also a good ecosystem for growth and quality at the same time. And in Malaysia itself, yes, we will add very soon more markets in Malaysia. As I mentioned, the north is very interesting, East Malaysia is very interesting, West Malaysia is very interesting, West North Malaysia is very interesting, and saying interesting means we're working on.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that explanation. And thank you so much for your time, Ivo. I know you're on your holiday, so really appreciate the time you're taking to talk to me about DE-CIX and the role of internet exchanges to facilitate better connectivity, safer connectivity, and I think if we can get a sense of what we're talking about here is democratizing internet.
Thank you, Cynthia. The internet doesn't have holidays, therefore every single millisecond counts. That's the new currency, and I'm on duty. Thank you so much for this very, very good discussion.
Thank you so much, Ivo. Take care.